Hello everybody, this is Kirby over yonder, and with the recently released Obsidian giving us more details about Marceline's past, I figured now would be the best time to order them in a cohesive manner. However, this is just a heads up that even though we do see a lot of Marceline's past throughout the series, we don't exactly see all of it. I mean, she is 1,000 years old after all. There are a few gaps I will have to fill, and a few things that just aren't completely explained. Also, this video will contain spoilers for the entire series, as well as the Obsidian special of Adventure Time Distant Lands. Oh, with that said, here is the Marceline timeline. The earliest we see of Marceline is her hanging out with her mom inside a trailer. This already brings up a few questions, as we never see Marceline's mom and Hunts and Abigail together. We know basically nothing about their relationship, so it's kind of unclear as to why they even broke up. I do have a theory though. In Obsidian, when Marceline's talking to a bunch of bosses about her mom being afraid of her, one of the bosses replies with, and I quote, "You scare everyone away, Marceline, just like your dad." I think Hudson must have said or done something that scared Marceline's mom into breaking up with him. Perhaps it has something to do with the whole, sucking souls thing. Anyways, Marceline appears to be very young here, so I'm going to guess she's about 4 years old. Next, we see Marceline's mom instructing Marceline on making a map. Marceline looks a little bit older here, so I'm guessing this is about a year or two later. We see here that Marceline's mom is very sick, however Marceline is blissfully unaware. I'm also going to assume that this sickness caused her voice to change, and that isn't because they couldn't get Rebecca Sugar back. The next we see of the two is them traversing the desert using the map that Marceline made. The two get attacked by an angry wolf, which causes Marceline to suck its soul. Marceline's mom does not know how to respond to this. After her sickness worsens, Marceline's mom sends Marceline to this cave, which she refers to as a clubhouse. This is where Marceline convinces herself that the reason why her mom left her was because she was afraid of her, and that people are naturally gonna be afraid of her because she's half demon. Little did she know the real reason why her mom left her. On a lighter note, this is also probably when she got into music. An unspecified amount of time later, Marceline decides to leave the cave and explore the post-apocalyptic world on her own. However, without her mom, she experiences feelings of loneliness and confusion. This is where Simon comes in, giving Marceline Hambo, accompanying her and acting as a father figure towards her. At least that would be the case if it weren't for this episode. In the Season 3 episode Memory of a Memory, Finn and Jake go inside the mind of Marceline, and the first memory they see is of a young Marceline with Hambo and without Simon. Now, we all know that the real explanation for this is that the writers hadn't thought of this plot point yet, but I honestly can't think of an in-universe explanation for this that makes sense. Did Simon leave Marceline for whatever reason and then come back later? No, because Marceline says that Hambo is her only friend. Is it possible that this scene takes place not too long after the flashback from I Remember You, and Simon just didn't join Marceline until later on? No, because Hambo looks far too beaten up for that to have been the case. Does this take place after Simon leaves Marceline? No, she looks way too young here for that to be the case. No, I think it's safe to write the scene off as no longer canon. Now, for the record, I don't really mind that this scene is retconned, since it gives us one of, if not the best storyline in the entire series. I just think it's important to know. Speaking of which, we all know that this is where Simon and Marceline become the legendary and iconic duo we all know them as. We also know that at this point, Simon is 47 years old and Marceline is 7. This is also the point where Simon is battling the crown and its control over him, as well as trying to protect Marceline, with these two sides of his personality often conflicting with each other. Cut to a few years later, and Simon decides to leave Marceline for her own safety. As I said earlier, Marceline appears to be a little bit older here, I'm guessing she's about 9 or 10 years old. Simon also mentions that he'll arrange for someone to come and get Marceline, who we later learn is her father, Hudson Abadir, much to Marceline's dismay. Now, we never actually get to see all that much of this point in Marceline's life, with her living in the Nightosphere with her dad. All we really get is him meeting her fries. However, I think it's safe to assume that their relationship probably wasn't great. I actually do have a theory that Hudson eating Marceline's fries was the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of their relationship. That he had done a bunch of bad things before, but this is what made Marceline want to move out. I mean, heck, and it came from the Nightosphere. She basically talks about the situation as if it's the most recent thing that happened between them. So yeah, I'm gonna assume that this is the point where Marceline moved out. Also, based on the way she looks in this flashback, I'm gonna assume she was about 14 to 17 years old. Around this time, Marceline was on her own traversing Ew. This is also when she started staking vampires. One day, she stumbles across the Fool, whom she stakes, and then uses her soul-sucking abilities to gain his ability of flight. Basically, Marceline is Kirby, and no one can tell me otherwise. At some point, Marceline meets a tribe of humans, whom she accidentally scares off at first, but they manage to warm up to her. At some point, Marceline ends up making an alliance with the humans, which involves her staking all of the vampires. And although we don't actually see it, we do know that around this time she staked the Empress, which gave her hypnosis abilities, which she actually doesn't use very much, as well as the Moon, thus giving her self-healing abilities. Although we do get to see her stake Hierophant and gain his shapeshifting abilities. Then comes in the Vampire King, whom Marceline stakes, but gets bitten by in the process, thus turning her into a vampire. At this point, she also stopped aging. It's unclear as to exactly how old Marceline is here, but she appears to be roughly in the 18 to 24-year-old range, which, again, she is stuck at forever now. At this point, the humans would have left to go to Founder's Island, and Marceline would have stayed behind because she's afraid of hurting them. However long later, Marceline would have started singing at concerts, where in one of them she gives Princess Bubblegum her shirt. Her infamous shirt. The shirt that started this crazy ship to begin with. Now, we don't necessarily know whether or not the two started dating then and there, or if they were just friends first and then started dating, but I'm going to go with the former since we don't really have any evidence against it. We obviously don't get to see that much of this relationship due to the nature of it being, well, an LGBT plus relationship on Cartoon Network, though we do know that at one point there was a case of a purloined egg, so that's something. We also know that later on in their relationship, Princess Bubblegum was much more focused on building up her Candy Kingdom, which is what drove a wedge between her and Marceline to begin with. This culminates with the event at the Glass Kingdom, where Princess Bubblegum is focused on defeating Larvo, but Marceline just wants to goof off and have fun. The two get into a heated argument which causes Marceline to drop a diss track on PB. I listened to said diss track on repeat for about a week, and Larvo is defeated, but this is also the event that causes Marceline and Princess Bubblegum to break up. Anyways, the last point on Marceline's timeline we get to see is her moving in with Ash. We know that they lived in what will become Finn and Jake's tree fort, but we don't actually know how much longer this takes place after the Bubbling breakup. Honestly, a part of me wants to believe that Ash was a rebound from Princess Bubblegum. It just makes way too much sense. The only other point we see in their relationship is their breakup. They've also moved into a new house for some reason. Maybe it was because of the worms? I don't know. Anyways, Ash reveals that he sold Hambo to a witch, because he's the worst, and Marceline rightfully breaks up with him. I guess you could say Ash is not a genius. I'm gonna assume that pretty soon after this is when Marceline moved into her cave house, and that's pretty much the last significant thing to happen to Marceline before the events of the series. That we know of, at least. Looking at all of Marceline's past like this, it may seem kind of depressing. A major theme throughout Marceline's past is the people she cares about eventually leaving or abandoning her. Her mom, Simon, Hunson Abadir, the tribe of humans, Princess Bubblegum, Ash. But I think it's also important to remember that this isn't all of Marceline's story. She does get closure with her mother. She learns to appreciate the Ice King, who eventually becomes Simon again. She's on somewhat decent terms with her dad, manages to reconnect with Princess Bubblegum, and, most importantly, gets to kick Ash in the Boing Loins. And could you really ask for anything better than that? Marceline may have had a traumatic past, but based on what we see in Obsidian, seems to be in a relatively good place. Showing that your past doesn't define your future. Kirby, out.